Hey, besties, welcome in. My name is Sabrina, for those of you who don't know me yet. And today we're going to wrap up our May reads. And I think this is the last time I'm going to do a wrap up that looks quite like this, because I feel like you kind of get the sense of what this is from Friday Night Lit. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it's just a thought that I was just having right now as I was turning the camera on. Yeah, let's just get into what I read in May. I believe I have my notes off camera. Yeah, it looks like I read 14 books in the month of May, which is pretty good. Before we get started, it's a cherry Coke kind of day. I don't drink cherry Coke that often, but when I do, and she's delish. Get you a drink if you don't have one. So the first book that I read in May was by Colin Tobin, and this was Brooklyn, and I rated it 4.25 stars, okay? Ooh, the drama, the exploration of immigration in the early 1900s. This poor woman in this book was voluntold by her family to move to America by herself to just start a new life. And we get to spend time with her as she is finding herself in America, as she is making friends, building relationships with people, working. All of that was simply phenomenal. This book in and of itself was very, very good. But what this book does is it leads up to a book that I'm going to talk about in just a second. And together, the two of them transcend either one of them on their own. Okay, so the book was good. The relationship building was phenomenal. The writing was so good. And the way that Mr. Tobin gave us this ending that was like dissatisfying, it was unsatisfactory. But like, in a way where I was like, I do need more. So if you are following along for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do 2.0, aka Herked, you'll know that I count books for prompts towards that reading challenge. And I also earn points that I can use in specific ways in that reading challenge, such as skipping over a book and still getting to count it, or counting a book that you DNF'd, which I totally forgot about. And I'm going to tell you about that later on. And so in Herked, I didn't count this book towards any prompts because the prompts are basically full at this point, but it did earn me 6 points, and we will take those points because I'm about to use those points. The second book that I read was The Library of Flowers by Elsie Chu. This I read as an ARC. I have seen it in the store, and the physical copy of it is beautiful. I rated this 4 stars, and now I'm suddenly interested in learning how to make perfume. I'm a Gemini. This is probably a hobby that I would pick up, try to do once, and never do again. Let me talk to you about bedazzling books. Anyway, in this book, the characters all sucked. And I don't mean the writing. I mean the characters themselves. They sucked. They were just terrible people. Like, they were so self-absorbed and unwilling to consider other people in the equation. Like, okay, for real. So the characters all really, really sucked, but it was a well-written book. Well, maybe there was one character who didn't suck. What was his name? Was it like Rafe or something like that? I think that was his name. He did not suck. He actually was pretty cool. And I was like, okay, go off, bestie. We got one person in here that I can get down with, okay? I will say that the mother-daughter relationship and like a little bit of toxicity in there, that was done really, really well. So if you're interested in that sort of thing and a touch of magical realism, this is the book for you. You should pick it up. Besides, like I said, physically, it's gorgeous. So for Herked, there were no prompts for this one, but I did get 18 points. Then I read The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. And listen, I still don't know which way is up, child, but I gave it 4.25 stars. So this lady was drunk for most of the book, and everybody was interconnected. And I'm like not really sure who's who because they all had basically the same description. They were just like generic white people. And like they were all kind of in a relationship, but like, were they in the same relationships? Were we on one timeline? And listen, I am certain that all of this was 100% on purpose by Paula Hawkins. She did her thing with that. But I am not sure that I believe anything in this book, including the outcome. I think that maybe what we learned about everything is maybe not actually the truth. I don't really know. This book was crazy. So job well done to Paula. And in Herked, I got, let me see, what did I use this for? This was used in the adaptations because there's been a play that has been made off of this book. Or did the play come first? I don't know. I think the book came first and then the play. And I also used it for the TBR game. If you remember, like several videos back, I played the Cat and Mouse TBR game by Leandra, the TBR Zero. And this was one of the books that came up for me. I stacked the deck on that one to make sure that I was reading things that counted for other prompts. And it earned me 11 points. Okay, then came my other Colm Tóibín book, which is Long Island. This is probably the one that you've heard of. It's everywhere in the stores. That is for good reason. Now listen, I love a good family drama, and boy, did this one deliver. I mean, on page 1, my friend, and that's why I had to rate it 5 stars, because page 1 was family drama, and I was hooked. I mean, not her husband made a baby with another woman, and then that woman's husband's on her doorstep talking about, when that baby comes, I'm dropping it off on your doorstep, and that's your problem. What? Okay, so that's how the book started. That's not a spoiler because that's how the book freaking started. I was like, sir, we are still on the first page. I need you to bring your tone down just a little bit. And anyway, my good sis went on to do her thing. She went on to do whatever she wanted to do, which is quite the accomplishment because she was like a housewife in like the 1940s, 50s, something like that, where women didn't have a ton of options. I mean, she went and got a job. She was like, I'm going to Ireland to visit my mom. And basically, like, her husband was uninvited to that trip. She wasn't going to take her kids, and her kids were like, we want to go to Ireland. We want to see the motherland. We want to see the home ship where you're from. And she was like, I mean, I guess you can come, but I'm going to go first. You guys should just meet me there. Mama was not about that. She was like, I do not want to live this life anymore. Like, I'm over all this. My husband got a woman on the side who got a man on the side who's actually her husband. You know, it's crazy to me when people are like, when you like cheat on your spouse with someone who also has a spouse, like, are we basically just in a foursome right now? Like, why don't we just get together and have a swingers moment, right? Like, what are we? Let's just all be in a relationship together. I mean, those other two people got a lot in common now because they're sharing cooties with each other. So y'all, we might as well just all be friends. We might just all be a happy family together, is what I'm saying. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this book, I don't think. So I'm here for everything that Colm Tóibín did in this book. However, I will say, I'm not here for the way this book ended because the resolution was not resoluting. It was very open-ended, and my guy does not plan on giving us a follow-up. So I'm going to need him to write, like, on his deathbed, I'm going to need him to leave a little note that tells us, like, some clarifying information. I need to know exactly what was supposed to happen in the next paragraph. I'm dissatisfied by the way this ended. So dissatisfied in the fact that I went and bought another one of his books because if you got a 4.5 star and a 5 star, like, the rest of the books must be just as good, right? That's how I figure. My husband was like, you don't even like the way he ended his books, like neither one of them. And I'm like, you're darn right. Buying the book anyway. And anyway, in Herkyed, this book didn't count for any of my prompts, but it earned me 11 points. I'm going to scoot over just a little bit because I feel like the reflection of the camera is like on my face. Is that a little bit better? I think it is. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, moving on to the next book, which was, well, it was Strange Pictures by Uketsu. And I thought that I had the book behind me, but it's my husband's book. So I must have reshelved it with his stuff instead of putting it with my stuff, which is not typical for me, but that's okay. I might go steal it back because I do also keep like a stack of books, like every book that I've read this year, so that I can like look at that in glory at the end of the year. And it's only the books that I physically own. So I might go steal that book back so I can put it in my stack. He can have it at the end of the year and he's not doing anything with it. What was I talking about? Uketsu's book, Strange Pictures. What a weird and wonderful book, which is why I rated it 4.75 stars. So this is a mystery that actually managed to drag me into trying to solve the mystery as I was reading it. I am not that person. I like to just let it happen to me and whatever will be, will be. But I was like conspiracy theorizing. Is that? I like theorying anyway. I was conspiracy theorizing the whole time I was reading the book. I was trying to drag my husband into it. I'm like, sir, do you remember when you read this months ago? Do you remember what you thought about chapter 2? Like, what do you think is going on here? And he was like, just read the book. Please leave me alone. To be honest, I never had any interest in reading this book. I picked it up and read it as an offering to the Herkyed gods, okay? Because I needed more translated works. For some reason, that was one category that I was really lacking in, is translated works. I guess I just never picked them up. I have gone from, I didn't want to read this book, to let me read the second book and I'm going to go buy the third book. Like, this was so good. I guess Herkyed has worked in its goal of broadening my reading horizon. So hats off for that. Speaking of Herkyed, I was able to count this as a translated work, like I said, because it was translated from Japanese and also in the TBR game. Now, to be fair, TBR game, I put strange pictures up against strange buildings. So no, is that the one? No, it's not. It's strange houses, because buildings is the one that I don't own yet. I put them up against each other, so I was going to be reading Uketsu either way. But I'm happy that I got this one. And it earned me 10 more points. Okay, then I read Watermoon, which is one I actually physically have the copy of. The ones that I've gone through so far either don't belong to me, like my husband or the library, or I listen to them on audio. But Watermoon, I do physically own, even though I listened to the whole thing on audio. I got it, girl. I got it. It's fine. So this was adorable. Simply put, I love this take on the fantasy world, which is why I rated it 4.25 stars. I feel like this was a cozy fantasy that had some teeth to it, you know, a love story that just kind of sneaks up on you and you're like in it and you don't even realize you're in it until you're like way in it. I did not anticipate that. I thought it was just going to be a fantasy adventure and that's it. I never wanted this story to end. As soon as the last chapter ended, I was ready to continue. I was like, well, what happens next in Hana's life? That's what I need to know. I need a book too. Okay. Samantha, give me a book too, please. So I counted this for around the world for Asia. And then I also counted it in Avatar, because in the Avatar prompt, you need to read 4 books that either have the elements on the cover or the title is one of the elements: earth, air, water, fire. I already completed that challenge technically because I got ones that have all of those things on the cover, like pictured on the cover. And so now I was going for bonus points by having books with the word in the title. And this is the last one that I needed because it has water. Some bonus points in the Avatar challenge. Speaking of points, this earned me 17 points. That includes the 5 bonus points. Back to books that I don't physically own, and that is The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. I will be owning this soon. The paperback copy is coming out very, very soon. I will be picking up a shelf trophy. I read this one from the library, 5 stars across the board. Incredible. I say this all the time, and I'll say it one more time. If a book makes me cry, she's getting 5 stars. This book still has me fucked up, fam. I didn't think that I was getting a platonic love story between this like basically teenager. I want to say he's like 19, 20, and he's addicted to pills and he's depressed and basically suicidal. Him and this old lady who has dementia and who's basically been abandoned by her family, left to the wolves. The two of them develop a relationship. I would call it a love affair, like a platonic love affair. And I didn't think I was getting that out of this book, but I did. Ocean Vuong delivered. So here we are. I cried tears at the end. And I am still moved by this book, and I will be getting a shelf trophy the moment that paperback hits the stands. Unfortunately, this didn't count for anything in Herkyed prompt-wise, but it did give me 13 points. Then there was The Old Man Who Read Love Stories. This was quite the story. I rated it 4 stars. Now listen, this is another one that I picked up specifically for Herkyed because I needed a translated work. I also needed something that had the word read in the title. Okay. I could not pick up a book that said read, even though those are spelled exactly the same. You have to use the actual version of the word that you're trying to use it for. Words are hard today. Anyway, this was a beautiful encapsulation of basically everything that is wrong and terrible in this world. Capitalistic greed, deforestation, colonialism, disrespecting the indigenous peoples, all of that. This was also a powerful book for me in Herkyed because I use a secret challenge prompt reward. So every month, QWERTY, the creator of Herkyed, releases a secret challenge. And for that, you read some other book or whatever she says it is. And for one of them, I don't remember which month it was, but for one of them, if you read that book, that particular type of book, you could get a prize. And the prize was that you could pick any book and you can count it for as many prompts in Herkyed as you want. So standard Herkyed, each book can only count twice. I was able to fit this book into 4 different categories. So this was powerful. And it's only like 157 pages, something like that. So she was giving me everything that I needed. Okay. So I counted this for around the world. Make a Quote, which is the original reason I picked it up because there were only like 5 books in the entire world that uses the word read instead of read. And this was the one that was most agreeable to me. I counted it for translations and it also counted in my TBR game. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I could find more prompts to put it into. And I probably should have read this one like first and then like counted it for literally everything. But here we are. It also earned me 10 points. So this was a great read. Then I read Ignore All Previous Instructions by Ada Hoffman. I cannot say enough good things about this one. I also rated this one 5 stars. There were so many things in this book that I don't think would have all worked together in any other book. Like very specifically, this book made them work. But we had an autistic lesbian growing up on a space colony that is governed by an AI company who goes on a heist with her trans ex-boyfriend. It is exactly as wild as it sounds. And it was absolutely delightful. Like, I really cannot tell you how good this book was. You just have to pick it up and read it, okay? My hat's off to Ada Hoffman. Unfortunately, we're so late into Herked that I could not count this for any prompts, but it could have counted for a lot of things. We got autism representation, we have trans, we have lesbian. The cover of this was very colorful. Like, there's so many things that this could have fit into, and I just didn't have anything left available to put it into. But I did get 13 points out of it, so I'm glad for that. Then there was Kennedy Ryan's Score. Y'all know how I feel about this book, honey. Y'all know how I feel about Kennedy Ryan. Anyway, 5 stars, needless to say. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. This is Kennedy Ryan, and I made a whole ass reading vlog of me doing literally nothing else besides reading this book. Reading this book and kikiing with y'all. So you just run over and go watch that. I'll link it up below. Up below? What is wrong with me? I'll link it up above so you can just clicky. Go watch it after you watch this video. You know what I mean? Anyway, I love this. I love her, and I will hear no slander. So let's just move on. Except I wasn't able to count it for anything in Herked, but points wise, I got 19 points. Then I read Scarlet Yearnings. I believe the subtitle is Beyond First Glance, something like that. This is by Scarlett Ibis Jones. Okay, well, first of all, I rated it 4.25 stars, okay? Listen, though, I am not usually a short story girly. It's important that you know that, because I don't really, every time I read a collection of short stories, I'm like, meh. Y'all, I have officially found a book of short stories that I freaking loved. Like, I'm just as shocked as you are. I think often what happens is the stories are too short and a lot of authors aren't able to develop it to a point where it is meaningful. Miss Scarlett did her thing. Okay. I was so deep in these little love stories and I was mad when they were over. I was like, no, because then what happened? There was in each of these stories and as a collective, there was such a deep exploration of the different ways that love shows up in our lives. Miss Scarlett, I need you to go on ahead and just make these into full-length stories. Particularly, my favorite one was a story about the 2 doctors. I need more of that one immediately. And listen, if that already exists, please point me to it. Maybe I should go do some research. My hair is giving Sideshow Bob today. Sorry. I couldn't count this for any prompts in Herked, but it did give me 22 points. Go off, friend. Plus, now I can say that I do, I guess, apparently like short story collections. And also, it won't get awkward with me and Scarlett. You know who it is about to get awkward with? Veronica Lancet, because Fairytale, honey, this started off cool. It was like a little urban fantasy, which I think is why I picked up this book in the first place. Because I was like, I want to get into urban fantasy, honey. First of all, 2.5 stars. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. It started off cool, but then shit got weird real fucking fast. Okay, real fast. And I mean, I read the trigger warnings and I would not say that I was triggered. It was just why? I really wanted to put this book down. But I pushed through because I needed a 700 plus page book for Herked. And I was really running short on time to go find another book and replace this with. Now, dumb me didn't even think about the fact that you can use points. All those points I keep telling you I'm collecting, you can use points to DNF a book and still count it for the challenge. I should have put this down when I wanted to and just counted it with points. But no, I read the whole thing. I read the whole thing. I think it was like 730 pages. I read all of them. And I'm mad that I did. There must is there someone out here who, I'm not trying to kink shame. I'm not trying to kink shame. But are there people out here who want to read that part, that stuff? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when a girl was on her period. Listen, are there people that want to read that? Please let me know. Again, everybody likes to read different things, but I'm just like, I don't understand why there was a need for that. And I'm not a prude. I really am not. Should have known me in my 20s. Anyway, I gave this 2.5 stars because the beginning of the book and the end of the book were really good. I would like to yeet the middle 400 pages of this book into deep space. It just didn't. We did not need this many words. We did not need the middle half of the story. The beginning and the end were fantastic. We needed like a chapter to connect the two of them, and it would have been a complete story. Told you I read this for the By the 100s challenge in Herkia to get me my 700 plus page book. This was also one of the books for the TBR challenge. And it earned me 13 points, so at least there's that. Then I read My Husband by Maud Ventura. And hold on, honey, because this was a damn ride, okay? Let me just tell you. I gave it 5 stars. And it started off mildly cute, if not a little bit much. Quickly, that escalated into, girl, are you okay? Listen, Miss Ma'am must have said my husband like 872,000 times in this book. She refuses to call her husband by his name. And it's my husband this, my husband that. And she could be talking about anything. Like, she could be talking about the way she brushes her teeth. And she'll be like, I use the toothbrush holder on the left because my husband is right-handed and he needs the one on the right-hand side. Like, girl, everything does not have to be about your husband. Trust me, I talk about my husband a lot because I love this man. He is like one of the best people I have ever met in my entire life. I am so incredibly lucky, but it's not this. I'm not that. Oh my God. I really was feeling the delusion of her situation. Like, it was really easy to get immersed in her just being cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, basically. I mean, she didn't have a personality outside of my husband. And like, I really was like, just get a divorce. It might be easier. It might be easier to cope. Like, I feel like this is an anxiety attack. And I think that I was reading this, like, holding my breath, waiting for something to actually happen because nothing ever actually really happened. It was just like, I had to take this file to my husband because he left it at home and he needed it for work. And my husband met me for lunch and I was trying to decide what I'm going to order while I was eating with my husband. And my husband ordered lasagna and my husband never orders lasagna, but I wanted lasagna. So then I ordered lasagna like my husband ordered lasagna. It was crazy. So I was resigned to just be like, she's crazy. And that's a bunch of shit that I'm just not about to ever do. But then the epilogue hit. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about that. The epilogue hit. And I was like, so for Herkia, I counted this in the translations challenge. This was translated from French. I also counted it in the TBR game. And it gave me, 7 points? Check my notes. 7 points. Yes. Last but not least, I read A Marriage at Sea. This was terrible. And I rated it 4.5 stars. These folks was out there eating raw turtles. Okay. I don't even know what to say about that. Listen, they were stuck at sea. They were shipwrecked at sea in this little life raft. They had like a raft and like some other emergency aquatic vehicle situation going on. Okay. Honestly, honey, I would have given up after about 8 hours. If nobody's coming to rescue me, I'm not doing it. Okay. I wouldn't say they were shipwrecked for like 4 months or something like that. Absolutely not. And anyway, this was deliciously written. I obviously rated it pretty highly. And it does also rank pretty highly in terms of situations that I don't ever want to see myself in, but I do want to read about other people doing it. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to be stuck in the ocean. I will jump over the side of this little life raft the moment we run out of fuel. I do not have the will to struggle to survive. And now I understand why people look at me like I'm crazy when I'm like, let's go on a cruise. Now, granted, we're probably not really going to get Titanic on a cruise these days. They have safeguards. But every time we go to the muster drill, I'm like, where's the Coast Guard? What do you mean we got to get in these little boats? Friend. How long are there snacks? Do you guys have snacks on the little boats? I'll report to my muster station, but are there snacks? Are there going to be snacks? Do we have to catch and eat raw turtles? Because if so, sign me out. I'm not participating in this. I will not come to my muster station. I will stay in my cabin as the ship goes down. No, thank you. Can you tell this book impacted me a little bit? Sadly, there were no prompts available for this to fit into her kit, but it did earn me 5 points. I gotta get my life together. Okay, so those were the books that I read in May. I own very few of them physically. Actually, here are 4. The other 10 were from the library, either physically or digitally. Well, I guess the other 9, because one of them my husband does own physically. So your girl's been at the library quite a bit, but it was a very successful reading month, I will say. There were few and far between books where I was like, okay. So with that said, thank you for joining me. I guess I should tell you that I read all the books that were on my April-May TBR list. I lost track of that list somewhere, but I can tell you that I read them all. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this monthly recap adventure. Hope you had a good time. I hope you don't get shipwrecked. And if you would not mind hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, I have some super fun videos coming soon. Now that I have had a chance to relax on vacation and whatnot. So stay tuned for those. And I will see you all in the very next video. Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you guys, book of the month. Oh my gosh, because first of all, I didn't even get to put April's book of the month up there, but then I decided that that was actually going to be book of the month for April. But believe it or not, book of the month is actually The Emperor of Gladness. That's crazy because you know I read a Kennedy Ryan this month. However, I do not own that book. So the very, very close second book of the month would be Score. Or is Score. And so since I do not currently own The Emperor of Gladness, it was a library book, I'm going to put Score in the box as my book of the month on display for a whole month. Okay. That's what I'm about to do. Okay. Now I'll see you in the very next video. Y'all, this thing about to fall off the wall. I knocked off one of the screws last time and I just saw a second screw is not in the wall anymore. How is this thing hanging up on the wall anymore? On a hope and a prayer.